that was a good win. I mean, that's a team they don't beat, a quarterback they don't beat, a team they don't beat in on the road, and a quarterback that they have a lot of difficulty beating. And they won that game. Let's start with Drake Maye, the most important player this season, his development. Your thoughts on the way he performed yesterday?
So, Fred, I would say it was better than a good win from my view. I think it was a great win because the Patriots, this team has to learn how to win. And it was ugly at times, but these type of games, to me, in my experience, are so important for teams that are in the position the Patriots are in. So it's that's my big picture view. And then specific to Drake Maye, I would amplify what Stefan Diggs said after the game. I think he used the words, he's growing up, and he took a step forward from last week in terms of just settling in early in the game.
Yeah, I think it speaks volumes that Vrabel immediately brought up in the post game what you alluded to there, Mike. How they bounced back. They got themselves in some bad positions, and they were able to find the ways to end up winning the game, which is the thing that you're going for. But I think maybe we didn't give that enough credit at the start of the season with a new head coach and a new staff and a bunch of new players. Like, all right, they've all won it at some level before, but winning together as this group, it's something that I think it was important for them to experience, to know what that feels like, what it feels like to bounce back, to come from behind it at one point during the game and actually get that win, so that it's almost like a muscle memory going forward. Oh, okay, we're in a bad spot here, but we've done this before now, and that can do wonders for them.
Especially after what happened last week, Hardy. Like that. I think it's okay to say that we expected a little more from the season opener, especially in the second half of that game when they were stressing, we want to be a second half team. And so let's just hypothetical this. Let's say they go down to Miami and lose that game, which they easily could have because the game was within a play, of going the other way. What would we be talking about? Well, same old story.
Yeah.
Can't win in Miami. Same old story. This feels like 2024 again, right? And so that's why I really think this was a huge result for them to get, while acknowledging there's a lot to clean up there.
Yeah.
I wanted to get your opinion on some of the other rookies, because I think we can all agree this is going to be a slow build, and how the rookies perform this year will lay the foundation for the future. I thought Will Campbell played very well. The one penalty they called him for, I don't think he actually committed that false start. And then TreVeyon Henderson, it's very odd. What do you think about the touches for Henderson here during the first 2 weeks?
So, John, Mike Vrabel agrees with you. He said this morning on his radio interview that Will Campbell didn't false start.
Boo! That radio interview sucks.
I know. I just like to relay, Fred, what Vrabel said, because John.
Boo! You're getting paid for this.
All right, I won't.
How dare
I won't
you? I'm kidding. I'm joking.
Yeah.
I'm just very upset about the Jet game. Go ahead.
Love it. TreVeyon, John. So this is one where I was wrong myself. I thought going into the game that he would play a much bigger role after last week, and I think in this case, I'm going to say the reason he didn't was when he was out there, he struggled a little bit in this game, particularly in pass protection. He also had a special teams penalty, a hold. And Ramondre, I was wrong on that as well. I think a lot of us were after the first week when he didn't look great. Thought Ramondre looked great.
Yeah.
And so I think this was one, John, where in this particular game, I think you get what you earn, and Ramondre earned the right to be out there. Antonio Gibson, same thing. He doubled his snaps from 5 to 10 from last week to this week. And TreVeyon, I think will continue to get snaps. And how the game goes will determine if those continue to increase.
He had, on a couple of occasions, trouble picking up the rush, Henderson. So I'm wondering if that seems like the kind of thing that annoys coaches,
especially when he's been labeled as a good blocker when he got here,
and it affects your playing time.
Yeah.
Just in my experience of hearing coaches talk, that's something that bothers them. Do you see him having a problem with that yesterday, and do you think that could affect any of his playing time?
So he had a problem with it yesterday, Fred. I think he would agree with that. But I don't think it's a big picture problem, because this was
it's
actually
not a big picture problem, but I'm just wondering if that's the kind of thing that annoys Vrabel and McDaniels, and they go, all right, like, you learn to do this, or it's going to cost you some possessions. We don't want our quarterback getting killed.
So based on what we've seen so far, I'm going to say no, Fred, because this staff, we're learning this staff and how they handle these type of things. Maybe under Bill Belichick, I might, based on 24 years of what we saw, I might say, yeah, I could see them trimming it back. But this staff seems to be more willing to work through some of these things with players. And I'd use the kicker as an example. That was a tough start for him. And then Vrabel turning to him for the 53-yarder and then expressing his confidence in him after the game, I think, is one example I would point to with Henderson, where I don't think they'll say, well, let's limit his snaps because his technique was off in this game. Let's instead work with him on the technique, put him in that position again, and give him a chance to take to clean that up.
Ultimately, and I wanted to ask you about the defense as well. In week one, the Patriots blitzed a lot. They had trouble getting home with 4 at separate times during the game. Yesterday, not the case. They were able to get home with 4. Milton Williams with a big sack. Harold Landry with a big sack when they only rushed 4. I'm wondering why you think that was. Is it just as simple as Miami having inexperience on their offensive line, or did the Patriots do something different?
John, so I came a little more prepared this week because last week you asked me, how can they fix the defense, and I didn't like my answer.
You're not alone there.
Every week is a different plan, and this plan against Miami and the way they play was to not get beat in the middle of the field, coverage-wise. And so good defense marries up the rush and the coverage, and they did a better job in that area this week compared to last week. And that's not me saying it. That's Mike Vrabel relaying that. And I think it showed up. So that's like a target. They talk about every week. This is what we have to do to win the game. And that was one of their defensive targets this week. Did a better job marrying up the coverage, taking away the middle of the field from Tua and Waddle and those routes, and marrying up with the rush. Beating the offensive line.
How'd you feel about Josh McDaniels' play calling this week?
Brilliant.
Brilliant.
Brilliant. Hardy.
I
love, do you disagree?
No. My mind immediately goes to things like, the couple of pass plays when you're trying to kill clock at the end of the game.
That was a mistake.
Go ahead. Tell me more. Speak more on the brilliance. Go ahead.
Okay. No, and I love.
Or like Isaac Newton.
So I was a little strong. Maybe get a little carried away. But what I loved was the intention at the start of the game. So come out and you run 3 straight times, get a first down. And obviously that's not just McDaniels, that's the players executing. But I feel like that settled the offense into the game. I thought Drake looked so much more comfortable. At halftime, I thought offensively, other than them getting stopped in the red zone on their final possession of the first half, they had controlled the game. And I thought a big part of that was Josh and Drake and the way that came together. The end of the game's interesting, what you guys are talking about. Vrabel, this is, again, different. I think in a prior regime, second down, you're running the ball and draining them of their timeout, their last timeout, if I have it right. Vrabel, I think that's as much Vrabel and Josh. I could be wrong on that, but being aggressive, saying we need a first down anyway to win the game. Let's be aggressive on second down, see if we can catch him sleeping on a short crossing route. Didn't work. And yeah, that could have come back to haunt him. But honestly, guys, there's a part of me that's like, this is this staff. They're going to be a little more aggressive offensively, defensively, special teams. We're learning more about how they approach these things.
This is just, you've been around for a really long time. The shift of the crowd between the punt return and the kick return, back to back. If you don't know, the Dolphins return a punt for a touchdown, ensuing kickoff. Patriots return one for a touchdown. That's got to be one of the biggest swings in crowd noise you've ever heard, I would assume.
Yes, and I love it, Fred. The greatest one for me was probably 2007, last regular season game. Patriots at the Giants. Brady to Moss, incomplete, down the right sideline for what would have been a record-breaking for Tom. TD passes in a season. Randy, TD catches in a season. And then they run the same play, the next play, and they get it. And that was for the undefeated season. So that's the number one in this category of like crowd, like roller coaster, right? Like this was right there, right after it. And that's what makes it great, guys. Like that's every week, you never know what you might see that's different than you've seen in the past.
And also, I mean, what a way to win a game, right? Like you fall asleep on special teams and then you turn around and immediately get momentum back. That's in a league where games are, for the most part, very close. That's, like you said, learning how to win, in all phases of the game. That's a pretty incredible feat, and they deserve credit for that.
I think so, Fred. I think it's a reflection of Mike Vrabel and how he played, and he had said he prepared the players for a street fight. And that's what a street fight is. You take a hit, then you got to go give a hit. And I thought on that one, credit to Gibson for hanging in there too. I mean,
Well, a lot of things are happening during this interview.
They keep kicking to him because they don't want to kick to TreVeyon.
They're kicking to him because they don't want to. You went in and out. We're playing disco music. There's all kinds of stuff going on. But you're saying that they were staying away from Henderson, as I would too, and what a credit to Gibson for that return.
Totally, and they keep kicking to Gibson. You recall the one at the end of the second quarter, Fred, when they sort of rolled it in there and Gibson didn't handle it. It went out of bounds. They end up taking a knee at the end of the second quarter. So he had some ups and downs himself, just handling the ball. And I think same thing you're talking about, responding to the adversity as a team and as an individual player in that role.
Okay, coming back from adversity in the same game, kicking for the Patriots, but that would make me nervous as a Patriots fan. The kicking situation seems to be, now give the kid credit. He, came back and got and made the field goals he had to make.
But then the kickoff right after the field goal put Miami at the 40.
Right. So yeah, he made 3 bad mistakes in that game. Yeah. Are you concerned with the kicking situation?
Well, I think it's fair to be concerned, especially when the competition that was in training camp, Parker Romo, goes out 5 for 5, I think, last night for the Falcons. So yes, Fred, and at the same time, young kickers, sometimes you got to stick with them early. We could go back to Adam Vinatieri, and this is a great one to talk about, 1996, because Bill Parcells is coming back this week for the Patriots Hall of Fame ceremony. Bill Parcells had Matt Barr, a veteran, on the line, ready to come back to replace Vinatieri, and he said, let me give it another week. And I think they were happy they did. And so I think there's always a balance of you got a young kicker, you're going to ride some ups and downs, and you just hope they can get through some of the early hiccups.
And finally, Mike, you're there in Miami. What's the shelf life for McDaniel now?
Man, that it seemed like I think they had a plane flying above the stadium calling for a change there. And it seems like they got a quick turnaround too, Fred. Thursday night game at Buffalo. So I would think at the end of this week, let's see what they look like Thursday night, how they compete, and we might get some, I could see that one going either direction.
Yeah, they lose that game, and they lose that game badly, that he could be fired.
For all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.